Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer. With me, Mr. Lady Ada on camera control. We're broadcasting live from downtown Manhattan. That's where we have the Adafruit factory, where we do all of our kitting and soldering and documentation and videoing and engineering and making all good stuff that you love to make your stuff with, because we're here at Adafruit. Um, Tonight, we have a lovely show for the next 45 minutes to an hour-ish. We're going to be talking about new products and videos. We got discount codes and freebies and videos and NPIs and more. Mr. Lady Ada, yeah, why don't you tell them what's the code and what's on tonight's show so we can get this show on the road?
On tonight's show, the code is Barrel, 10% off the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Tonight will
I
be
love barrels.
Barrel.
Well, actually, there's three products that are barrel themed.
Multiple barrels.
Yeah, multi-barrel.
More fun than a barrel of barrels.
Mm.
Talk about some of our live shows, including Show and Tell. We got JP's product pick of the week. We got some main New York City factory footage. Got a 3D printing speed up. We got Ion NPI, which is brought to you by DigiKey this week. It's Texas Instruments. We have some top secret we're going to share. We're going to go over some new products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/discord or discord.gg/Adafruit. And we answer your question throughout the show. And of course, at the end of the show, in the special question and answer section, we're going to talk about some freebies. We're going to do all that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, first up, code's Barrel. And
it's a monkey of barrels.
Yeah, and in the US only, because freebies are US only at this time.
Yes.
What do you get if you add stuff to your cart?
If you buy from adafruit.com, you get free stuff because we can give you free stuff. You may not get free stuff from other places, but you do from us.
Yeah.
$99 or more, you get this beautiful PCB coaster with a gold Adafruit logo and some rubber bumpers you put on your desk to protect your desk from your cold or hot drinks. Especially it's now iced coffee season.
That's right.
All right, next up.
Next up.
$149 or more, you get the KB2040. It's an RP2040 based Pro Micro Pinout compatible microcontroller board with STEMMA QT and NeoPixel and buttons and USB-C. So it's great for making keyboards, but it's also just a great all-around microcontroller board with tons of GPIO.
Mm-hmm.
Free shipping for US orders, domestic US orders, $199 or more. $299 or more, we're still giving away a free Circuit Playground Express. You really know the chip shortage over because we have not run out of these for quite a bit. It's got LEDs and a SAMD21 and lots of sensors and accessories, alligator clip pads, so you can get started with learning how to program electronics without any tools or soldering or anything. Just plug it into your computer and you can start making hardware with Arduino or code.org or CircuitPython or MicroPython or CS code.cs discoveries. All good stuff. My favorite microcontroller board for sure.
All right, we do a bunch of live shows. We just got off the show and tell just a few moments ago. You can check out all the places online where we host our videos and post our videos. YouTube is where a lot of people watch it. So watch Show and Tell. Scott came by, Maker Melissa, JP, and then Brad from Kansas had these.
Not Canada.
Yeah, Kansas had these really neat 3D printed booties that go on the bottom of circuit boards. There's a lot of model train stuff. Yeah. And then Mark had this really neat magnetic for a weather
sensor. Playing with 3D sensor. Right? Yeah, but he wants to do it without having be able to have it completely potted.
Yeah.
Magnets are great for that.
Love that was really neat. So check it out. We do the show and tell every single Wednesday. You can stop by, show retro stuff, your own projects. Doesn't have to be Adafruit stuff, of course. And join in. A lot of fun. And if you missed it, watch it after this show.
We'll be doing next week, too.
Yeah. And then on Sundays, we do From the Desk of Lady Ada, including the Great Search, where Lady Ada helps you find things on DigiKey. And then we have JP's part of the pick of the week on Tuesday. Here is this week's highlight.
It is the TRRS Trinky. This is an adaptive technology wonder right here. It's like, honey, I shrunk the microcontroller and USB cable and connectors, because that's it. That's the whole thing right there. My iPad here. You'll see the Trinky lights up. It's got a NeoPixel built on. This is a Cortex M0, so we can run CircuitPython. We can run Arduino on there. We also have a little breakout here for STEMMA QT I2C sensors and other add-ons. And in this configuration I'm using right now, when I press one of these buttons, they are mimicking 3 keyboard presses. The summon the Italian flag buttons for some reason that I decided to make. But those are the buttons I had, and you can see here these are just pretty standard arcade buttons, and I've clipped on 3 of those little mono connectors onto there. Pick of the week this week, it is the TRRS Trinky.
Okay, and then on Thursday we have JP's workshop, and then Friday coming up, deep dive with Scott. Scott was on the show and tell as well, and you can check out some of the things he was working on. Showed some cool Copilot stuff while he was coding.
Yeah, he has to code faster.
Yeah, speaking of fast and cool stuff, it's Python on Hardware time. So we do a newsletter every single week. When we started this, we were like, wonder how many people are going to subscribe over on Adafruit Daily. That's our newsletter site.
6?
Well, we're up to
28?
11,000. We did this before, but it's worth celebrating twice. 11,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. We don't do ads. We don't spam. You have to do this on Adafruit Daily to get Python microcontrollers. So this week in the news, we got a few things. Of course, talking about we have subscribers. Thank you so much, everybody. When you subscribe, we know you read it and you like it. But keep in mind, you can also get it on the blog. You can also get it on RSS. You can get it on GitHub. But a lot of people like it delivered to their inbox because they know we are not going to do anything with your email address. We have a new Circuit Python edition.
Lots of bug fixes.
Yeah, just it's 7.10. And then we have a beta. And then there's a bug fix, which is 905. If you want to check out the blog and the release notes for more details. And then the news, we were kind of asked different places online, like, what do we think? So this is kind of big news. The one of the more popular Python running platforms, because it's Linux, is Raspberry Pi.
Pi stands for Python.
Yeah. Is going public, and that's set for June. So they also
in the London Exchange.
Yeah, and they also took some funding. So this is the subsidiary, the trading company. This is the company that sells this stuff. Is going to go public. So we'll see what happens. This is
70% is B2B. It's a lot of industry.
Yeah, you can look at Tom's Hardware, and the Register has more information about it. And they're starting to do some quotes. What is this going to be for? Engineering capital expenditure and supply chains will benefit from the investment. Folks are asking, is this going to, stop any future Pi supply issues?
Well, hopefully we'll help them avoid future Pi supply issues because they'll be able to buy enough inventory or float the inventory.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, the Raspberry Pi team has been cranking out a lot of stuff. I know that there's more stuff coming down the pipe. They're definitely hitting their stride. I think the Pi 5 is like a big evolution in the ability of the compute module, of the processing power of a little desktop computer. It's not $25 or $35, but it's not too expensive, and they still have the Pi 4 available. And of course, the compute module is very popular in industry.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week, so we'll skip this, but we have 500 boards in CircuitPython. And then someone pointed this out in the chat, but we also mentioned this, is Sony's planning a dedicated Raspberry Pi production line in Japan ahead of the Raspberry Pi IPO. So it looks like, all the things are converging to have
You're going to see a lot.
Steady supply.
I don't run Raspberry Pi. I don't have any insight. But in general, around an IPO, you're going to see a lot of news and product release. There's always a little bit of...
Yeah, there's a quiet period for some things, but then there's a lot of press release
stuff.
There's
a lot of stuff.
For here's what we're doing.
I think in June, you're going to see a lot of pre-announcements and here's partnerships. It's very, very common, as part of the IPO project to also be to get people excited, they're going to talk about the future. So hopefully we'll see some stuff. I don't know anything. I'm just guessing.
And then you can check out, this is DIY Space Mouse using USB HDD sensors. Yeah, there's
magnetics.
The new little Arduino bot. You can run MicroPython on it. And check out some highlights from our Learn system, playgrounds, where people publish their own projects and more. So it is a good time to be doing some Python and some...
Especially you can get hardware. There's a lot of designs and boards. I mean, I love it. Yeah. Definitely a resurgence in the community.
Yeah, so do check it out. And in addition to the 500 boards, we have 484 libraries for CircuitPython. And then we also have Blinka, which runs on Raspberry Pis.
Raspberry Pi.
So that is all the news that's fit to Pi this week. One special mention, though, I wanted to add is if you didn't make it to PyCon, that's okay. Jepler's presentation, Connecting Old to New at CircuitPython, Retro Input Devices on Modern PCs. The slides will be up and the video soon. We'll get the word out. It'll be in the newsletter, and you can tune into Jeff's presentation, which was well received. People liked it, seemed to have a good time, so you'll see that. All this can be delivered to you every single week on Adafruit Daily Python on Hardware newsletter.
Thanks, Blinka.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so we do a bunch of open source hardware. We publish the source code, the schematics, all of those things. And we have a learn guide for our products and projects and more. Lady Ada, what's on the big board this week?
This was a little bit of a slightly slower week, but we did get a couple things out. Nan Pedro's USB Rotary Media Dial guide and the guide for the TRS Trinky for assistive technology hackers. I got code in Arduino and CircuitPython published up. It was to be fair, because it was a long weekend here in the US, a lot of people took like Thursday and Friday and kind of Tuesday off. So a little bit of a slower week, but I think everyone's rested, they're tanned, they had some watermelon, and now they're totally ready to dive into some projects.
Very cool. Okay, let's also take one quick look at Playground. There's a connection manager guide and also a get radio guide. Check it out. We talk about what the connection manager, well, the person who wrote this is, talks about the connection manager.
Yeah, it's a new CircuitPython layer that manages ESP32, Airlift, or Ethernet, or Wi-Fi. So a lot of different ways to get onto the internet. Usually your operating system handles it. In this case, CircuitPython just needs a little bit of help, especially for like reconnecting and authenticating and DHCP. And
Okay, let's see some factory footage. And that was the factory footage made in New York City. See some 3D printing. Okay, this week we have a speed up from Pedro. Take it away. That was 3D printed. Don't forget you can tune into 3D Hangouts every single week on Wednesdays to learn how to make all this stuff and more. The code for tonight's show is Barrel, 10% off in the first hour till 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. There's a bunch of free stuff. If you want to add it to your cart, it's automatically added as well. USA only. Let's do some Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI brought to you by DigiKeys. Thank you, DigiKeys. This week it's Texas Instruments. Lady Ada,
Yay.
what is the new product introduction that you are going to introduce the world to in this introduction? How many times can I add the word new and product introduction? I know many times. Eye on MPI.
Okay. Yes, this week is from TI, the NPI. It's a QFN board. It's the ADS. Let me see the part number. ADS 9817 and its little sister, the ADS 9813. I was just really impressed with this very nice, nicely spec'd new ADC with both a dual and a single ADC with 8-channel muxing. Very wide input range, built-in reference, 18-bit data bit width for the SAR sampling. Sorry, what was it called? The successive approximation register analog digital converter. 2 megabit per sample, 2 mega samples per second per channel. Simultaneously sampling with a quad output DDR interface. So really well designed, very small, very precise, and not too expensive for what it is. It's a very, very nice chip. Definitely not going to be not super inexpensive, but that's what you expect from a really high precision, very small, high speed ADC with 18-bit input. And again, this one's a dual. The 9813 is a single. So this ADC, what is it for? Medical devices, test equipment, anything where you need very, very fast capture. 2 mega samples per second is very fast, and very high accuracy and high precision, because you're going to get that with the really nice linearity and 18-bit input. Couple nice things going on here. One, you can set the input clamps, and there's a programmable gain stage that will reduce the input voltage. So if you want to measure plus or minus 12 volt down to plus minus 5 volt signal, normally you'd have to do like a separate op amp stage to reduce your signal down. But that's actually handled inside the ADC, which means you can have adaptable gain depending on your signal. The signal can spike up to 24 volts peak to peak, but then maybe it goes down to 1 volt peak to peak. You can adjust. You don't have to have like a fixed gain stage, and then you don't have to have a configurable, PGA that might add some more cost to your configuration. You get 8-channel differential inputs. First 4 channels go into the first ADC, second one goes in the second ADC. At the top, you see the 2 different part numbers. Maybe I was confused. I thought it was the 9813, but it's a 9815. The 9817 is 2 mega samples. 9815, 1 mega sample. It's going to be a little less expensive, less power. And on the right, you can see there is a 2.5 volt reference voltage. There's also on the top a 4.096 volt reference voltage. Bottom right, SPI interface for configuration. And then middle right is where you have the actual data output, which is, because if you want to get 2 mega samples per second, you can't just do SPI, to get reasonable data rates, especially since you're going to have 8 channels. So you would do quad data output. That's when you're going to get your best sample rate. And yes, it has a fixed 1 mega ohm input impedance, no matter what the gain is. It's quite nice. And a programmable low pass filter too, which is very cool. So I mentioned the clamp, which is really cool. So you don't have to worry about your, if you end up saturating your ADC, change the gain. Now, your lowest, least significant bit, of course, is going to be a higher voltage, but you're no longer saturating. You can get the full range of signal. These are the LSBs for the different scales, like you can program the scale over the SPI interface. So you tell it like, hey, here's the range I'm expecting for my signal. And yeah, it's like with 18 bits, you know, you can get as little as like 19 microvolts LSB, which is pretty amazing. Also has a built-in low pass filter, low bandwidth filter, 21 kilohertz, high bandwidth filter from it seems like it's fixed to whatever the voltage is. So as the voltage changes, the frequency changes. The nice thing, again, you don't have to have a separate op amp to do a low pass filter. You can do the low pass filtering within the chip itself. And you'll also, changing the gain also changes signal to noise ratio. Of course, you can get your best SNR at 12 volts, 24 volts, plus minus 12 volts, 24 volt peak to peak, and the lowest at plus or minus 2.5 volts. But it's still only like, you know, within 4 dB. It's not too bad. Usage is very simple. I like how easy they make it to use this chip. Again, all the differentials are on the left. All the signal comes out on the right. Makes it the layout really, really easy. You don't need a lot of components, just a couple of capacitors. Again, SPI configuration and your data bus output. And then the built-in reference voltage, or you can have an external one if you'd like. Built-in one's probably fine. Just a couple of capacitors to help stabilize it is a good idea for noise reduction. Use ceramics. You can have multiple devices if you want to have, they're like, oh, if you want to set it up so you can control these, all of them at like the same time, you can do it by daisy chaining them, by connecting the output of one SPI to the other one. And like, instead of having separate chip select lines, you actually literally have one chip select, but you like can send the command data as one gigantic long SPI command. So I thought that was interesting. You set a register to tell it how long the daisy chain is. And then, oh, because you want to get like the error output maybe. And then here's the actual, the data timing diagram for the DDR signal data. So I think DDR means it's, you get data on the rising and falling clock signal. So there's like the sample clock and then the data clock. And yeah, you're going to get 18 bits per channel, and then you know you can clock out each channel in a row. And I'm sure in the SPI interface you can select which channels you want to clock out to minimize your bandwidth. Because of the design, it's really easy to do a layout. Sure, 4-layer, go ahead, but you don't actually need to. You could probably get away with a 2-layer board. Although honestly, the chip is not inexpensive, so you might as well go for a 4-layer board because that's not going to be the bill of materials cost. It's not a significant part of the bill of materials cost. Signals on the left, data on the right. Boom! Now you're a mixed signal designer. Also, there's a lovely eval board available. It's a beautiful board with looks like SMA connectors for all of the inputs. So you can very quickly get set up with capturing signals using this chip, using your microcontroller or microcomputer.
Available on DigiKey.
And it's in stock. Yep, you can pick these up. They're available in stock. And like I said, there's a couple different families. There's ones that are a little bit slower. There's ones that have single channel and not sort of dual channel. But all the code is basically the same. The data sheet's pretty much the same too.
And that is this week's new product introduction, I on NPI.
DAC time.
I on NPI.
Okay, we're going to go to new products. Before we do that, the code is barrel, 10% off in the Adafruit store. Lady Ada, what is new?
Tweezers. Get some tweezers. These were by request.
Human hand not included.
Yeah, you don't get the beautiful nails. You have 2 tweezers. These are ceramic tip tweezers, but they don't feel like ceramic. They feel like plastic, but they actually are ceramic. They're like a ceramic size plastic. Both in extremely pointy and not quite as pointy types, but they're the same cost. And what's nice about these is the tips will not bend. Like, yeah, they won't, like usually when you get very nice tweezers, the tips will bend and twist eventually over time. These don't because they're ceramic. I mean, I think eventually they will break, but they have some flexibility to them, but they won't bend and not spring back, and then you can replace the tips if you like. So these are that pointy, but not so pointy that it's like, ow, I just poked myself. These are the extremely pointy and like they will like, ow, like ow, don't do that. They're very sharp. Very good for grabbing, I think like, 0201s, 01005s. These are good. 603s are bigger. You can probably get away with these just fine. 402s, maybe one or the other. Because they're ceramic, not only do they not bend, but they're great for use with hot air and rework. And
That's right.
if you want to dunk something in a solder pot or grab something out of a solder pot, use these ceramic tweezers.
Next
Good
up.
job. Also non-magnetic, obviously, because they're ceramic and non-conductive. We have some key switches. These are, we had a set last week. So these are like bike lock style key switches, and there's two kinds. This one, oh, we didn't get the demo image, but
Oh no.
yeah, there's a demo. Well, you can go to the product page and check it out.
Okay.
To this one, you see there's two notches in it. That means you can remove the lock after you turn it on or turn it off. Whereas we have one that's also like a momentary, where if you want to turn it on, the turning on part doesn't, you can't remove the key. Do you want to try? Yeah.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. That's fine. So yeah. So see, you turn the key, the contacts join, and then you can remove the key because this is the on-off version. And then if you look on the other one, the momentary, you see she turns the key. You can't remove the key when it's on. So that means like, to take the key back, you have to remove it so it can't be left on for some reason. Like ignitions are like this. Obviously, you won't want to leave your key in the car. So to turn off the car, you have to remove the key. That's kind of the idea behind the momentary. Both
cool.
are, every one you get is going to have the same keys. These are not secure. Do not use these for valuables. This is like a fun switch interface that it's like, well, you do need a thing to turn it on, but like, believe me, somebody with a Bic pen could probably pick the lock in like 10 seconds. So it's not, not for your nuclear weapons.
Next up.
Okay, this is something I've always wanted. It's a polarity switcheroo for 5.5 millimeter outer diameter, 2.1 millimeter inner diameter DC jacks. So if you have a device that's center negative and you want to use a center positive power supply with it, because it's really hard to find center negative these days, instead of cutting something and resoldering it and getting it backwards or whatever, this thing plugs, either you plug into the device and now you have a new port, or you plug your power supply into it, and whatever was center positive is now center negative, and it was center negative, it's now center positive. So you go to the overhead, and I can show this very quickly. It's simple yet ingenious. So you have your multimeter. So this is normally 9 volts, which makes sense. And it's center positive. So you see the outer ring is ground and the center ring is red. And then that gives you a positive voltage. If I plug in the switcheroo, now when I put the red probe on the inside and the black probe on the outside, you'll see it's now negative 9 volts. So it doesn't change the voltage. It just swaps the positive and negative.
Righty. Next up.
From our friends across the pond at Pimoroni, we now have a dual PCIe interface for MMC cards or storage PCIe devices. Now you get 2 ports, so 2 drives, maybe one AI accelerator and a drive, maybe, I don't actually know, my cellular modem and a disk, or cellular modem and an AI accelerator, whatever. It goes underneath the Raspberry Pi. It's a lovely design with 2 power supply, 2 power supplies, one for each, and then it looks in the center like there's like a little PCIe switch that'll automatically swap between the two. So they've really done a great job designing PCIe add-ons for the Raspberry Pi 5. Doesn't work with the Pi 4, but if you have a Pi 5, you want to use PCIe stuff. This has everything you need to get started, including all of the hardware.
All right, next
You
up.
can mount it, attach things, have fun. From Espressif, they have a new version of the ESP32 cam. What was previously just ESP32 is now the ESP32 S3 cam, which is great because they've really improved on a lot of the designs. Just showing it with AdaBot.
Yeah.
So it has a screen built in now, which is lovely. So go to the overhead. Let me see if I can get it to recognize. Okay. So when I look at it, I don't know if I can get it to do it now. It was doing facial recognition, but
Right.
hold on. Maybe I need to. Maybe it has to be right side up. Let me see. Give it a second. If so,
Do.
I'll be honest. I did not look at the manual for this. I just plugged it in. I was like, oh,
Yeah, sure.
okay. Hold on. Maybe I have to do it like this. Oh yeah. So you can see.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's very hard to.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry. I just rebooted it. This is embarrassing. Okay, live demos. Okay,
It's worth it.
now. I just want to get this. Okay,
Yeah, it's doing it. Did face.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, did it.
So yeah, you can see it's recognizing my
Yeah.
face. Okay, so sorry about that. It has an OV2640 camera, interface buttons, a nice little display that you can remove if you want and use a different display. SD card, 8 MB flash, 8 MB PS RAM, some LEDs. I don't know, camera. Yeah. So it can do it has like a slight AI accelerator for facial recognition. When we actually got really good camera support in the Memento. So while we don't necessarily have support immediately for this board as of this video, we'll probably add it really soon. And you'll be able to do a lot of these things in CircuitPython as well.
Alrighty. So don't forget that. Okay, next up.
Live demo. Okay, next up, this is kind of a weird one, but you know, if you are doing a lot of stuff with IR hacking, this might be kind of handy. So we have IR transmitters, IR receivers. This is a breakout board for the TSMP 96000 from Vishay. And this is a very interesting sensor chip filter. What it does is it looks for infrared signal, 940 nanometers. So it's like, you know, infrared standard. And the carrier frequency can be between 20 and 60 kilohertz. And normally these are really like narrow band 38 kilohertz. But this one can accept a wide range of frequencies and it will give you the carrier output signal. What that means is that if you don't know what frequency an IR remote is, or you want your product to support any IR remote, because it's like a code learning thing where it will learn any infrared remote, you can use this and it will decode, it will read the IR signal and like do some filtering on it, but give you the output only if it's between 20 and 60 kilohertz. And then with the carrier, and then you would probably want a separate reader, a different sensor that's tuned to that frequency once you know what it is, that would give you the demodulated output. So this does not give you demodulated output. This gives you carrier signal IR output, but it does only do that if it's valid IR signal. Yes, you know, between 20 and 60 kilohertz and is valid like infrared square wave. So it's kind of like for advanced IR hacking, but we couldn't find any other breakout boards for this. And I thought since I was doing a lot of IR stuff, this would be maybe handy for some people.
Okay, and the star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady, the community, the customers, the people who show and share and publish, do all the things to make this world a fun place to be in at times, is
Da, da, da. Hello. It is the revision of the RGB LCD shield, one of our older products that originally came in kit form. Like you'd have to solder all the components, and then during the chip shortage, we couldn't get the main component, the MCP 23017. And then I was like, fine, you know, maybe we'll just continue, maybe we'll just wait. And then I was actually able to get the SMT version of the chip before the DIP version. I was like, you know what, this is a good excuse to revise this design and make it fully surface mount because it's easier for us to pick and place stuff these days than to make a kit. And honestly, most people don't want to solder together a shield kit. They want to have something kind of ready to go. So what's nice about this is it only uses I2C. You get 5 button inputs and you get LCD output plus the RGB backlit light is controlled. You can turn the R, G, or B on or off, so you have like 8 different colors. And it fits on any Arduino compatible. Let's go to the overhead. So this is like an RP2040, for example, because I just like using that. And this just shows as I press each button, the code switches between the different colors. Purple, nice purple color. And then a couple changes that were made is I used to use the A4, A5 pin because that was at the time the Arduino pins. Now we use the SCL, SDA pins up there. So that's why it works on any Arduino compatible. You can also change the voltage for the logic level. We default to 5 volts, but you can cut this and use the default voltage or solder to 3 to force it to 3. If you have a very, very old Arduino, you can solder close the SDA and SCL lines to force it to use A4, A5. Contrast pot is nice and easy to twist. And then there's a reset button as well, so you can reset your program. And then it doesn't come with the LCD. You would solder in whatever LCD you like. So in this case, it's a positive style, and then there's also the negative style. You can also use this with just plain backlight 16x2s, but then you don't get, of course, the RGB backlight. You would only get the buttons and the LCD control. So, hold on. I'm going to reset this.
Boop.
Boop. Okay, there you go. But yeah, if you just want to add a 16x2 LCD, they're very nice and readable, easy to use. I can do it with only 2 pins and a lot less soldering. So these are going to be back in stock.
All right, and with that is new products.
Yay! New.
Okay, don't forget the code is barrel. Free stuff ahead if you're getting your order shipped to the US. And we're going to answer some questions. You can put those over in Discord. I have a couple already stored up. So we'll get to those, but let's do a little bit of top secret.
Sure.
Answer questions, and then we're going to get out of here. Okay. Lenina, what is in the vault this week?
Oh, I was just doing some cleanup of my, GitHub repo, and I realized I never made an Ada Logger RP2040 board, which is like kind of silly because it's one of our more popular feather designs for the M0 and the 324. So I whipped one up. It's got all the bone stuff you expect: USB-C, battery, RP2040, 8 megabytes, flash, STEM IQT, NeoPixel. I connected up the SD card so that you can be used with SDIO or SPI. So we really don't have SDIO support in Arduino or CircuitPython that much, but you can kind of there are projects that have done it. And I put the data lines in order so that you can use like PIO to do SDIO interfacing, and maybe we'll add it to CircuitPython because we do have some SDIO support. But just in general, it's like you want to add a data logging project and you want to use RP2040, this board will do it for you.
Okay. And I think that's the only top secret we're going to show off this week.
Yeah, we're getting to some other stuff.
Okay.
There's some stuff that's so secret, I can't even preview it on the show.
Okay. We're going to roll right into questions.
Ask them.
Here we go. Okie dokie. All right. The first question is from earlier in the chat. Adafruit has some analog level shifter products. There's a divider, but I wonder if there is a product that could be used to collect up to 8 24-volt signals and convert them to digital for input to a digital logger. I was looking for a digital 0-1 output. Does Adafruit have something like this yet?
That's really just a resistor divider or like a Zener clamp. I don't know of any TTL logic that does 24 volts. They tend to top out at 12. So honestly, resistor dividers where it's at for what you're doing. If you know that it's going to be 24 volts.
How do you think that reversing cable is wired?
They just cross the wires.
Cross
They cross the streams.
Okay. it was noted that the live preview frame rate is smoother than expected on the ESP32XX, so the little camera thing.
Yeah, it is. You can actually get very good frame rate. I will say, it's only a 240 by 240 screen, and so you're going to get really good frame rate with that. I was able to get like 15 frame per second on the Memento.
Okay. Does CircuitPython support ESP Now protocol?
I think some people are working on them a PR, so check it out. I mean, if you want help
Yeah.
testing.
Also check out the weekly CircuitPython dev meetings on Discord. It's Mondays at 2 p.m. and also in the chat if you want to know for sure, or if you want to like join in and if it's getting worked on. Can Adafruit make a I2C controlled, I2C controlled keypad shield for a 16 by 2 LCD? Have the 16 by 2 LCD already soldered on?
We might, but this is the start. You got to start with just getting it pre-assembled PCB, and then you can always make more versions.
Looks like there might be ESP Now.
Yeah, I thought like I remember
support.
seeing there was a PR, but I just don't know if it's
Docs.circuitpython.org. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
in the chat. Eric.
I haven't used it.
Any preferred chip to give 5 volt on a sensor board from probably 3 to 6 5 volt ish?
Yeah, if you look at our Stemma booster that gives you 3 volts and then can control 5-volt chips, I use like the AP3602. It's not very low power. It's not as efficient, but it's very small and very easy.
Okay, next up on a past show, you mentioned downside of C++, you need to compile, and that can be lengthy as possible for AI to see the lengthy code that you already changed a starting variable and be able to isolate that unchange and patch everything together. So different parts.
I know that people who work on C compilers are always trying to figure out how to do caching and optimization. To be honest, it isn't like the firmware that we're building for these microcontrollers is that big. I just think that there hasn't been a lot of effort on optimization because I think I mean I know like Platform IO has done optimizations, but they do it in a very, in my opinion, challenging to support way. It's very fast. It's great if you know exactly what you're doing, but if you're not sure what you're doing, it can get very confusing. It's basically one of the things, like I said, it's like if there's money to be made or saved, people will invest in it. But right now, there really isn't.
Okie dokie. Is there a ruggedized and or ribbon / flat stemma I2C cable? Inevitably, my stemma QT cables get flakier after handling too much.
Well, the connector itself is rated for like some number of plugs and unplugs, and yeah, it's not infinite. It's probably rated for a couple hundred plugs and unplugs. It's kind of why they're $1. Get new ones. If it's the where the cable is connected to the wires, you could use some hot glue to just add a little bit of strain relief. That might help.
Okay, and then the last question, and that's why we're wrapping up the show, is how's your little one? Fantastic. About to go to bed. So that's what we're about to do. We got to get our kiddo to bed. So that's why we're keeping the Ask an Engineer shows to an hour, a little bit under.
Can't do it till
9.
9:30.
9 is a little bit later than baby bedtime. So we got to go take care of baby. So with that,
I got
Those
to
are-
read
those are our questions.
Caps for Sale.
That's right. Those are our questions. Thank you so
Caps?
much, everybody.
Caps for Sale.
We'll see everyone in, let's say, another week on Ask an Engineer. And if we didn't get your question, just post up in the forums or some folks can check out in the chat. We're going to go put a kiddo to bed. Don't forget the code is barrel.
50 cents a cap.
And Adafruit production.
Night night.
Here's your moment of Zener.